We are in the middle of Double Jeopardy week on the Crisis Files. The two crises we are tracking, the PGA Tour and Live Golf deal, as well as Hollywood on fire. And that is where we're going to spend some time today. It's day 6 of the actors' strike, a month and a half into the writers' strike. And of course, who do we turn to get the latest? Our entertainment contributor, film critic, Paul McGuire-Grimes. Paul, listen to this. It's a sobering and somber message from SAG-AFTRA on its Instagram page. They say, here's the simple truth. We're up against a system where those in charge of multi-billion-dollar media conglomerates are rewarded for exploiting workers. We're fighting for the survival of our profession. Paul, that sounds dire for Hollywood.
It really is. And if you've been following along with it, going into the SAG-AFTRA strike, we didn't know what those negotiation deals were leading into it. Now that it is, we can find what those are. So if you go to SAG-AFTRAstrike.org, we can find what the negotiation deals and what people are literally fighting for to get an idea. And it's been kind of interesting to look at those specific negotiation deals, hear from people on the picket lines, hearing people talk about the shows that are impacting them in terms of their work and the compensation that they're not getting for and how it has changed going into streaming. And it really is dire when you have these CEOs, these studio executives that are making millions upon millions of dollars. And if they're saying, your deals, your terms are Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, is literally on record saying that it's very disturbing to me. It's that they're unrealistic and that the actors, are adding to the set of challenges that this business is already facing that is, quite frankly, very disruptive. So now you're putting all of that on the actors and the writers who are your bread and butter. They're the ones giving you the content. And if you're saying that you can't meet the simple demands of them needing healthcare, needing job security, that's what's disturbing, in my opinion. So it's been fascinating watching the actors. Sean Gunn has talked about being on Gilmore Girls and the episodes that are airing on Netflix, and how Netflix is making a huge profit out of the new generations of people discovering Gilmore Girls. And then Sean Gunn, being a cast member of that show, is not seeing any of that because those residuals are not put into place. So that's just one element of many that they're talking about, including AI.
As you and I talked about in case file number 53, Writer's Block, which we invite listeners to go and check out if you haven't already, this is not just about the big stars. I mean, it's about everybody, but the front line, the front-facing spokespeople, so to speak, in Hollywood are those huge stars. And we're seeing many of them on the picket lines supporting this strike, right? And supporting writers when the writers started to strike. But this is about fair wages. It's about artificial intelligence not replacing human bodies. I mean, one of the things that I found most interesting was a quote about how, these studio execs want AI to create 500 background extras that might have been real people earning real wages before. So for those people out there, the regular person, the regular viewer who isn't a film critic like you, who doesn't necessarily track Hollywood every day, it matters because it could set the tone for fair compensation in a lot of industries.
For sure. I think we need a big facing industry like the film industry, the TV industry, to show that workers of any background, any business, has the right to strike and speak up for unfair wages, to speak up for themselves when they're being taken advantage of, regardless of whether you're an actor, a writer, a nurse, an educator, a teacher. These are common people that go on strike because of unfair working conditions. And that's what is important, to understand that we have a right to do that. People have a right to talk about what they need. And this idea of AI, whether it's cranking out a script that has no personality, it's just words on a page, or it's, we talk about background actors that maybe will come on set to walk by for a scene, and they're maybe paid pennies or given free lunch. And now the studios basically want to say, well, we want to be able to take that image of you walking across the set and then use that going forward as much as we want without your consent, without your knowledge, and then you'll never get paid for it again.
Yeah,
and that's
no
what's really
compensation.
I would be horrified if my image was then put in a movie that I didn't agree with, that I then was not getting paid for, and because then it's on me. That's my image that people don't realize they have no control over, and that's really disturbing. And A good example of that is The Flash. The ending of The Flash had a lot of AI used to bring back people from the dead. And it's very obvious. And that's also very disturbing moving forward, is like, if I'm as a dead actor having my face and image, and I think actors now are realizing I got to put that into my own contracts moving forward.
Well, as a small business owner, I've gotten advice from various coaches, and one of my early sales coaches said to me very clearly, never work for free. And this applies across all industries. I mean, there's certain things like internships and apprenticeships, and sure, sometimes we do work for a lower wage or for the experience itself, but that shouldn't become the norm. And
Right.
then when you contrast that to, I'm just going to pick Disney, for example, because you mentioned Bob Iger, when you're looking at stock prices and you're looking at the uber high salaries that not just the CEO, but other of those executives are making, it just doesn't seem fair.
It's not. And you could point that out with CEOs of major corporations. The wealth disparity in this country is such a large issue that needs to be talked about and isn't. And I think that's coming into play here, is why are these CEOs making this much money, and then everyone else, whether it's a cashier, whether it's a teller, whether it's a greeter at the store, can barely afford rent, can barely afford a paycheck, healthcare. And we're talking about that especially here too with these writers and actors, where the studios are then lowballing how often they're working. So in order to get healthcare, you have to make $26,000 a year, and those numbers are now coming out. And if these studios will only then hire you maybe to write one episode or to act in episodes 3 and then maybe 6 down the road, you're then not making enough money to then get that healthcare, or you're not making that $26,000 if residuals. A lot of actors make their money off of the residuals of episodes re-airing, and those are not happening with streaming. So Sean Gunn, talking about Gilmore Girls, if he's not making any money off those residuals, he may not be getting the healthcare that he needs or can afford it because he's not making that. And I think it's something like 98% of actors don't even qualify because they're not making that basic $26,000 a year. And that's a huge portion of the industry. That the George Clooney's, the Nicole Kidmans, the Meryls, the Jennifer Lawrences, that is 2%, I think, of the entire industry. But that's what everyone thinks is the industry, is that 2%.
Right. And as we pointed out in case file number 53, unions are what this country were really founded upon. The SAG-AFTRA union that represents the actors in this case, the Writers Guild representing the writers. I mean, all these different unions that are essentially working for fairness in the workplace. So we're going to continue to track this on the Crisis Files. Really quickly, Paul, before we go, I think what is really beautiful to see, and I've been tracking some of the videos on the SAG-AFTRA Instagram and just other news stories, is to see actors, writers, everybody out in force on those picket lines, sharing the testimonials, showing up for each other. I don't think, hopefully it doesn't have to last for months and months, but it is nice to see that.
It's great to see that everyone coming together, because it takes a village, and it takes both of these unions to strike to get their point across. Because I think studio execs may only deal with it if it's both of them together, because they said with the writers, we'll let you lose your apartments because we're not going to budge. You need to basically lose your housing before we even talk. And if it's now the actors, and literally everything shut down. I mean, we're talking about the Wicked movie, Deadpool 3, Gladiator 2, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. All these huge movies that are filming right now are all shut down. Those all make big bucks at the box office.
And a lot of infrastructure in these different cities, London, LA, wherever you are. I mean, a lot of infrastructure around that, not just people who have a SAG-AFTRA card, but other parts of the industry that it fuels. Well, as always, great insight. And we're going to continue to track this into next week. Hopefully, the sides can come to some sort of understanding. Paul McGuire-Grimes, you can find him online on Paul's Trips to the Movies on Facebook and YouTube. You can also check out all past episodes of The Crisis Files where you find podcasts, and at thecrisisfiles.com. And of course, check out the 2 episodes this week, the 2 case files, 52, which is 2 mulligans when we're talking about PGA and Live, and that crazy deal that probably isn't going to work itself out. And of course, case file 53, featuring my conversation with Paul, Writer's Block. And we invite you to visit that wherever you find podcasts, or thecrisisfiles.com. Have a great day.